We had just spent the previous day enjoying ourselves at the Apple Wine Festival in Frankfurt, but now it was time to catch a plane down to Italy.
It's so early.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the sun appears to not have come up here.
No.
In Munich it'd be up already.
Mm-hmm.
From our hotel, we made our way through the quiet morning streets to get to the S-Bahn, which would take us to the airport. Well, one thing Munich definitely has over Frankfurt is signage. We're trying to find the S-Bahn now, and there were 2 sets of escalators, no signage. Went down the first set, and it's not the one we're looking for, so we're going to try the second set. Hopefully we get to the airport. Eventually we got to the correct platform, only to find that our train had been cancelled. We were lucky that we were planning on taking an earlier train than we had to, because if we hadn't, we would have gotten to the airport with only an hour to get through security and get to our gate. And the Frankfurt airport is massive. Eventually we made it, and we were geeking out at all of the 747s sitting at the gates. This is a plane you don't see very often anymore. When we got to our plane at the remote stand, we saw another behemoth of the sky, a Singapore Airlines A380, which was in the middle of taking off. We were in aviation geek heaven. We taxied out to the runway and broke through the early morning skies on our way to Venice. Our final destination was Trieste, Italy, which is located in the far northeast corner of the country. However, due to several airline strikes taking place, oversold flights, and indirect routes, we had to take a train from Munich to Frankfurt, spend the night in Frankfurt, and then fly down to Venice, where we would get on another train to travel 2 more hours to Trieste. Quite a trip just to get to a city that's only 300 kilometers from Munich. We landed at the Venice Marco Polo Airport, getting some amazing views of the island of Venice as we landed. We made our way to the Venice Mestre train station to hop on our ride to Trieste. Alright guys, our flight went well and we just got to the Venice train station here. So now we're just waiting for a train to take us over to Trieste, which takes about 2 hours, so not too bad. And the tickets were only like 30 euros too for 2 tickets, which is pretty good. As you know, we did have a super early flight, so we actually got into Italy at around 10 o'clock in the morning. So it is a little after 11 now, and none of the restaurants here open up until 11:30. So we're just waiting for a restaurant to open up where we can get lunch because our train isn't until about 1 o'clock. So now we're just kind of biding our time by the train station. The train that would take us today was a Trenord regional train. We traveled through the flat northern Italian plains for about an hour and a half before we finally reached the rocky crags and cliffs that characterize the eastern Adriatic coast. Trieste came into view out of the window and we finally reached our destination. Hey guys, welcome to Trieste. So we are in our hotel room right now in Trieste, Italy, which is on the very, very, very far northeast side of Italy. It's about 2 hours from Venice, where we flew in this morning, but we're finally here, and we have a little bit less than 24 hours before we have to board our cruise ship tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk around and explore what we can. We're going to get dinner in the hotel. Catherine's going to get a massage because she really wanted to, and this hotel has a really good spa. But yeah, we're just going to see what we can see here in Trieste in less than 24 hours. Also, if you guys didn't notice, we got upgraded to a suite here at this hotel. We don't normally just book the suites. If you saw our video on the King Lero suite at the Hilton in Malaga, that was more or less kind of a honeymoon thing. But normally we just book a regular queen or king room. Regular queen or king room. Regular queen or king room. So we actually got upgraded, so we'll also make a video about this hotel and give you a little bit of a review on the hotel. From our hotel, we walked for a few blocks before we reached massive stone stairways that would take us where we wanted to go. These massive steps, called the Scala dei Giganti, or the Giant Stairway, led up to the Castello di San Giusto. The water features inside even contain several rocks and stones that were removed from the earth to build this monument.
Alright, onward and upward.
Yep.
We continued up the stairs until we reached the street-level landing. Here we could look further up the hill at the towering Fontana di Mantuzza, a fountain at the top. It took another several minutes to walk up these remaining stone stairs, but eventually we got there. The monument is not all that attractive, but it's a spot that offers some amazing views of Trieste and the surrounding area. In this area is also the entrance to the Parco della Rimembranzy, or the Remembrance Park. This park was built in 1926, on the 11th anniversary of Italy's entry into the Great War. As a symbol of pride and remembrance, the name of each soldier from Trieste killed in the war was engraved on stones and placed throughout the park. A tree was also planted in the park for each one of them. After World War II, more stones were added honoring the Trieste natives who died there. After paying our respects, we started walking towards the castle, taking in some more amazing views of the valley surrounding. Eventually, we made it. This triangular castle sits high up on the hill overlooking the surrounding area and the bay. It was built starting in the 15th century, and it was completed as it is today in the 17th century. The castle never really experienced any military action, so it stands pretty much as it did several hundred years ago. Now, tourists can visit the chapel inside the castle, as well as the captain's house and more attractions in the museum. However, on this hill we found something even more interesting to us: the remnants of a Roman forum. While the castle here might be old, these ruins around it are thousands of years older, dating back to the time when the city was the Roman city of Trieste. Here you can find several ancient columns, stone floors, statues, and other archaeological finds that visitors can walk through and experience. Right next to this Roman forum is the Cathedral di San Giusto Martire. This 14th century cathedral was built many years before the castle, and it was placed directly on top of the Roman temple that used to sit near the forum. The stonework and architecture were all very impressive, and it was cool to see three buildings from three completely different time periods sitting right next to each other. Again, we got some great views and then started making our descent from the top of the hill back into the city. However, the uneven roads here were not making that easy, and we soon wished we took a different route.
I can't imagine the wear and tear this does on people's vehicles. They drive their cars on these stones. We can barely walk on them.
On the way back down, we saw another piece of antiquity, the Arco di Riccardo. This arch was believed to have been built in 33 BC, when Rome was at its height of power. The newer buildings in this square were actually built around the arch and the archaeological site where it stands, giving a stark contrast between old and new. Historians don't truly know what the arch used to be a part of, but many speculate that it was once the entrance gate into the city of Trieste. This area, including the nearby Piazza del Barbacan, is believed to be the oldest area in the city.
This is the point of our trip, where we take a ride down a sketchy alley for no reason. We found ourselves all alone here. Hello.
Hi.
That was cool, huh?
Yeah.
All those ruins. I didn't realize how many Roman ruins there were.
We headed back to the hotel to rest before going out to explore more of the city. The next morning, we left our hotel to find a nice little cafe to get some coffees. If you haven't already checked out our video about the Hilton Doubletree in Trieste, you can find a link in the description. This hotel was classy, elegant, and absolutely beautiful, and we were glad we stayed here. We found our cafe on the Grand Canal, and we got a few coffees and some breakfast.
After being adequately refreshed, we headed towards another ancient Roman site that we really wanted to see, the Roman Theater. But before we get to the theater, why don't you help us out by hitting that subscribe button? It really helps our channel to grow. We had seen a few of these theaters in other cities before, and they seem to be the one type of ancient Roman ruin that cities restore instead of tearing down. This Roman theater was actually built outside of the old city walls, on a hill that overlooked the sea. Back in Roman times, it was likely to be surrounded by green space and forest, being an attraction that people would go to in order to get away from the city. However, it doesn't seem like they'd be able to get away from people here, as this theater could hold up to 6,000 of them. It was built over in the Middle Ages and then unearthed once again in 1938 by archaeologists. It's really a sight to see, and to think that shows and spectacles took place here over 2,000 years ago boggles the mind. After we got our fill of ancient ruins, we headed to a part of the city that was a bit more modern. The Piazza Unita d'Italia, or the Unity Square of Italy. This enormous square is located directly in the middle of the city. 3 of its borders include government buildings, hotels, and restaurants, and one side is completely open to the sea. In the middle of this square is the Fountain of the Four Continents. The statue was very eclectic looking, and we knew it was important, but we didn't really know what it was at the time, later finding out that it was completed in 1754 and shows representations of the 4 known continents at the time: Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. Right next to the fountain is the Column of Charles of Hapsburg. This square is enormous, and many events happen here each year. On another side of the square is a large and regal-looking government office, and this is the territorial office of the local government. On the other side of the square is the Palazzo del Triestino, a large stone palace built in 1880. The palace now houses the offices of the presidency and the council for the autonomous region. We walked towards the sea to get some great views and feel the warm sea breeze on our faces. This area is absolutely breathtaking, and the views were amazing. A promenade runs along the coast for most of the city, and there are statues and sights to see all along the way. We saw the beautiful Soldier of Trieste statue, which guards a small set of steps leading into the beautiful blue Adriatic waters. We also saw some sea life in the form of little fish and a few jellyfish. Turning towards the cruise terminal, we could see the Norwegian cruise ship that would soon take us all over the Mediterranean. From there, we walked back into the city and down a little street that would lead to the Grand Canal.
How is it?
It's pretty good. It was free.
Yeah, that's that beer from the hotel.
Yeah.
Part of our welcome package in the hotel included these beers.
A Dragon Slayer? Pretty nerdy, but they're actually okay.
Yeah.
After our bit of rest and refreshment, we walked over the Grand Canal, watching fish swim among the boats and the birds. All around the Grand Canal are beautiful restaurants, bars, and plazas. The Grand Canal is not that long, but it sure is something you need to see if you're in Trieste. At the end of the Grand Canal is an enormous building that resembles something of an ancient Greek temple. This neoclassical building was actually built in the 19th century, and it's an important part of the religious history of the city. On the way back to the hotel to get our luggage, we also passed by the Chamber of Commerce, another building that's meant to awe and inspire. That seems to be the theme here in Trieste. Alright, so we are leaving our hotel now in Trieste. We really enjoyed our stay at the Hilton here, but now we are headed over to the port to get on our cruise. So it's actually not a really long walk from our hotel to the cruise terminal. It's only like 10 minutes, and you basically walk all the way down this pedestrian path, which is super nice. Finally, we made our way to the cruise terminal, where we got checked in and ready to board our ship. Here we would spend the next week traveling around to Croatia, Montenegro, and Greece. Trieste is an amazing and beautiful city. To be honest, if it wasn't the home port of the cruise ship we were using, we probably wouldn't have known it existed. However, we were so glad that we traveled here. With its eclectic mix of Italian, Eastern Adriatic, and Venetian histories, it's a place with such a rich culture. We're glad we came here, and if given the opportunity, we would definitely come back. Thanks for watching this weekly vlog. If you like what we're doing here, please be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.